metering mode button is a button with a plus and minus symbol on it. It's called the exposure compensation button. Exposure compensation is used to modify the exposure the camera thinks is best. Now, Nikon says it's most effective if used in the spot metering mode, and I agree. What it does is allow you to capture one or more images with exposures higher and lower than the camera's suggested exposure. Using exposure compensation is becoming really popular as photographers begin to experiment with something called HDR photography, or high dynamic range photography. HDR is the combining of up to 9 images, all at different exposures, of the same shot. For example, here's a shot that I had 9 images of the same scene, shot at the following settings: -4 stops under, -3, -2, and -1 stop under, then at the exposure the camera selected, and +1, +2, +3, and +4 stops over. Now, you need to use a computer program like Photoshop or Photoshop Elements to combine the images into one, but there are also some great standalone programs. Now, I'm using something called Hdr Efx Pro, and the computer has assembled the 9 shots into this one shot of a beaver dam. Comparing the image on the left, which is the one the camera chose, to the HDR image on the right, you can see much more detail, more range of colors and tones. Now, back to the button. When you press and hold the exposure compensation button and rotate the rear command dial, you can see the selections available. You can select to shoot under or over by a full 5 stops in 1/3 of a stop settings. You will also use this when you want to alter the exposure by one shot by just a little. So perhaps you've taken a picture and upon reviewing it in the viewfinder, you think the shot is a little overexposed or maybe underexposed. You can use this setting to alter the shot by as little as 1/3 of a stop to as many as 5. Here's an example of just that. Here's the image as the camera decided it should be, and here it is 1 stop higher, and now 1 stop lower. It can make a difference in how your shot looks. This is one of those settings that you can play with on a cold, snowy, or rainy Sunday afternoon, shooting some still life maybe in the dining room.